Don't come home. Your sister doesn't want you there. My mother didn't whisper it. She didn't hesitate either. The words came out flat, like a simple instruction. My father was on the call too. He didn't say anything. Somehow, that silence hurt more. I was standing outside the house I grew up in, suitcase still in my hand. 6 hours on the road. I hadn't been back in almost a year. I told myself things might be different this time. They weren't. She's already stressed, my mother continued. Your presence will just make things uncomfortable. I looked at the front door. Same paint, same porch light, same place I used to wait for them when I came home from school. Everything looked familiar, except me. So I can't even come inside. I asked calmly. My sister's voice cut in from the background, sharp and irritated. Why does he always do this? This is my house now. He doesn't belong here. That sentence settled quietly, heavier than shouting ever could. My house now, not our home, not family, just ownership spoken out loud. I didn't remind them how I used to sleep on the couch when I had nowhere else to go. I didn't talk about the nights I worked late while my sister was protected from every inconvenience. There was no point. Okay, I said. The line went quiet. They were waiting for anger, maybe for pleading, for guilt. None of it came. I put the phone in my pocket, walked back to my car, and sat there for a moment longer than necessary. Not because I was broken, but because something finally clicked. Some people mistake volume for power. Some families confuse favoritism with love. I started the engine and drove away without looking back. They thought they had won. They had no idea what I was about to do next. I didn't cut them off out of anger. I just stopped reaching for people who had already let go. No calls, no explanations, no dramatic goodbye messages. I put my phone down and focused on the one thing that had never betrayed me: work. At first, it was survival. Long hours, cheap apartments, learning things no one was teaching me. I failed more times than I told anyone about. Quietly, cleanly, without witnesses. While my sister filled the family group chat with complaints and demands, I filled notebooks with plans. While my parents stayed busy managing her moods, I stayed busy fixing my skills. Slowly, something shifted. I wasn't chasing approval anymore. I was building stability, the kind that doesn't announce itself. I changed cities, took a job no one thought was serious, turned it into something that paid the bills, then something that paid respect, then something that gave me options. I didn't post achievements. I didn't correct the stories they told relatives about me being lost or still figuring things out. Let them believe it. Through distant relatives, updates still reached me. My sister had problems, money issues, arguments, a business idea that collapsed before it started. The house she once called hers was still being held together by my parents' support. The same parents who once said my presence caused stress. Meanwhile, my life got quieter and stronger. I learned the value of controlled silence, of not reacting, of letting time do the talking instead of emotion. Once, at a family gathering I didn't attend, someone casually asked, "So what is he doing these days?" No one had a clear answer. "He moved," someone said. "I think he's working." Another guest. "He never really explained." My mother added. That uncertainty bothered them more than any argument ever could. Years passed. One evening, while reviewing documents in my apartment, my phone buzzed with a familiar number. My mother. Her voice was softer now, careful, almost formal. "We heard you're doing okay," she said. "Not we're proud, not we're sorry, just okay." Then she cleared her throat. "Your sister mentioned you might be engaged." I paused before answering, not to create drama, but because I noticed something important. They were finally asking instead of assuming. "Yes," I said, "I am." There was a silence on the other end, a different kind this time. Heavy, thoughtful. Well, she said slowly, we'd like to be there. It is your wedding, after all. I agreed without emotion. After the call ended, I sat there for a moment, feeling nothing dramatic. No victory, no bitterness, just readiness. They were still catching up to who I had become. I had already moved beyond the version they thought they knew. The truth was growing quietly in the background, and soon it wouldn't need my help to be seen. They were still talking about me. I was already far ahead of them. The wedding day didn't feel like a reunion. It felt like a conclusion. My parents arrived early. They looked around quietly, taking in the space, the guests, the way people greeted me, with respect, not obligation. My sister stayed close to them, unusually silent. During the reception, a longtime friend stood to speak. No drama, no exaggeration. He talked about years of work, setbacks no one saw, and the company I had built from nothing. He mentioned the moves, the risks, the discipline. I watched my parents exchange glances. Later, my father pulled me aside. His voice was low. I didn't know you had done all this. I nodded. You weren't supposed to. My mother joined us, eyes heavy with regret. We thought you were just drifting. I smiled, not out of pride, not out of pain. I said calmly, just not in circles. They asked if things could go back to how they were, if I'd visit more, if we could start fresh. I shook my head gently. I didn't leave to be missed. I said, I left to build. My sister said nothing. She didn't need to. As the night ended, I stood beside the person who chose me without conditions and felt no anger, only clarity. They thought I was weak because I was quiet. They didn't know I was simply busy becoming strong. Got it. Part 4. The after silence, where nothing is said, but everything is settled. Calm. Clean. Authority intact. Backhand index pointing down. Life didn't change overnight after the wedding. And that was the point. My parents called a few times in the months that followed. Short conversations. Polite questions. Careful tones. They spoke like people learning the boundaries of someone they no longer controlled. I answered when it felt right. I didn't when it didn't. My sister never confronted me. She didn't apologize either. She avoided the topic completely, as if silence could undo what reality had already explained. I didn't chase closure. I didn't demand accountability. I had something better. Distance without resentment. The house I once wasn't allowed to enter faded into a memory that no longer had power. Not because I rejected it, but because I no longer needed it to feel whole. I built a new home, one where presence wasn't conditional, where respect didn't depend on comparison, where love didn't have favorites. Sometimes people ask if it still hurts. It doesn't. Pain needs noise to survive. Growth doesn't. They remember the version of me they dismissed. I live as the version they never bothered to imagine. And that's enough. Large blue diamond, final lesson. Some doors don't close loudly. They close because you walked so far ahead, you forgot to look back.